I brought with me an official press release, and if there's anybody here in the press, I'll be happy to hand it to you. It is a press release for Tea Party patriots, but this rally is not about Tea Party patriots. It's about the grassroots in Connecticut and all the various groups that have worked so hard in the last 3 years to keep our core values sacred and to fight for our liberties. And there's a number of people from those groups that are here that I would like to give them the opportunity to say a few words. First off, I'd like to introduce Peter Wolfgang of Family Institutes. Peter, can you come on up here and say a few words?
Thank you, Ron. I'll be brief, or as brief as I'm capable of being. It's good to see all of you. Let's talk about why we're all here. Let's talk about Connecticut specifically in this battle, and then let's talk about action items going forward. You've already heard some of them today. This decision from the U.S. Supreme Court yesterday was an outrage. Are we agreed on that? An outrage. Think about what's at stake here. Whether you want to call it a mandate or you want to call it a tax or whatever you want to call it, if our government has the ability to force us to buy things we would not otherwise buy or pay a fine, when they're really, with all due respect to Chief Justice Roberts, that was not what Chief Justice Roberts dressed it up as in order to pass it. There's no way this is constitutional. If this thing continues on, then it's really the end of a limited form of government with enumerated powers. If this thing is upheld, if this thing continues to go forward, this Obamacare, it's really the end of our form of government. Is that what we want? No. So, what do we do? Well, first of all, we're here in the state of Connecticut. Connecticut is not a battleground state in the presidential election, but the most important thing that we can do is elect that man that you just heard today. Elect Mark Greenberg. Elect Mark Greenberg to the United States Congress. Have a voice. We need a voice. We need a voice in Congress. You know, I was at a rally just a few weeks earlier. Family Institute of Connecticut held a Family Institute of Connecticut Action. We held a rally down at the New Haven Green on June 8th. This was specifically about one part of Obamacare, about the HHS mandate that will force all of us, including religious institutions, to provide and pay for abortion-inducing drugs, contraceptives, sterilizations, even if it violates our conscience. Is that right? No! So that's one of dozens and dozens of problems with Obamacare. One of many, many reasons why Obamacare has to be overturned. But while we were in the middle of that rally, in some back office, in some group of bureaucrats in Hartford decided that under Obamacare, essential health benefits in the state of Connecticut will include abortion. Whether or not you agree with it, all of us, through our tax dollars, will be required to fund abortion once Obamacare goes into effect in Connecticut. Is that right? No. No. We need to have a voice in Congress. The people who represent us in Congress right now are just fine with doing that to us. And you know, if we don't stop things like what these bureaucrats in Hartford decided a few weeks ago, if we don't stop these things here in Connecticut, they will spread to the rest of the country. Obamacare allows each of the 50 states to decide what will be considered essential health care benefits. And Connecticut did not have to decide the way they did on June 8th, but they chose to decide that. If we don't overturn that, if we don't stop that here in Connecticut, it will spread to the rest of the country. Connecticut is a testing ground for the culture of death, for all the things that we are against, for all the things that are against liberty, against freedom, against the founding of our country. Many times, these things are tried first here in Connecticut, and if they succeed, then they're imposed on the rest of the country. We have to stand up here in Connecticut. We have to stop it here. That's why we have to elect good men like Mark Greenberg and other good conservative candidates that are running for office that will vote to overturn Obamacare. And that's the good news. We can overturn Obamacare. This decision that occurred yesterday, as horrible as it was, we need to keep in mind, this was not Roe versus Wade, where the U.S. Supreme Court took the abortion issue out of the democratic process. This was not Kerrigan versus Department of Public Health, where the Connecticut Supreme Court took the issue of marriage out of the democratic process. What the court did yesterday was they kicked it back to us. and they said, look, this was passed by the politicians. This was passed by your elected representatives. And if you people want to vote yourselves into slavery, we're going to stand down. We're not going to stop you. This was passed by the political branch of the government. All we have to do is elect different congressmen, different U.S. senators, and a different president, and we can overturn this. Do we want to do that? Yes. We can do that. August 14th is the primary. Please, do whatever you can to work for Mark Greenberg and the other true liberty candidates here in the state of Connecticut. And then, November 5th, do whatever you can